Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Richard, this is my channel, and this is a thing I like to do called hydration comedy. That is where, instead of drinking anything else, I drink water, and I try to be funny. Try to be funny. You want to say in the comments, well, that's not very funny, but, well, I'm trying to be funny. You could do better. I would suggest you make a YouTube video and be better. Don't come out here and be like, well, you're not very funny. Well, you have all the things you need to do the exact same thing I'm doing. It is not hard for you to get a camera, a crappy table, water, a glass, a lime slice, a lemon slice, and some ice, and then talk. That is not hard. Anyway, for every 1,000 subscribers I get, I do purchase one of these bracelets from 4Ocean. 4Ocean pulls a pot of trash out of the ocean every time I do that. If you would be so kind as comment, like, and subscribe, you'd be doing your part for a better world. Making the world better for free is something you should be doing. Hydrate. Hey, man's got to get his water in somehow, right? Anyway, it just so happens a friend of mine said that there was a comedy, an open mic night where I could work on my material. And, tempting as this is, it's probably not going to work for me. It's far away. It's not something you get paid for. I don't know if, like, an open mic night would mean that I'd be opening my doors to something better, but putting it on the internet. Watch this 1,000 times, and I might actually get monetized. So, my oldest stand-up routine is about my father. And this stand-up routine is so old. It is before I stopped talking to my father because we didn't get on. We didn't get on well. He believed, I believed he was a bad father. He believed he was a bad father, but if he just lied about it, I would have to accept the lies. This is just one of those things about bad parenting, is that often it involves lying to your children, and it's just like, his attitude was like, look, I know I was a bad father to you, but if you take these pills, you just won't remember. Yeah, it didn't work that way. And it's like, I was a very massive disappointment to my father. I needed help, and he figured if I needed help, I wasn't worth helping. That was my father. I remember I went to the doctor and I felt terrible, but it was a sports physical. And it was like, I threw up every morning. I was bleeding out my fingernails. I was really pale. I was always cold. Doctor said, he needs a blood test. My dad goes, no, you don't. I never forgave him for that, but that's not the joke. So, my father was the kind of man who knew a lot about drugs, and he took a lot of drugs. And what is a drug? A drug is anything you put in your body other than food that causes a chemical reaction. So, technically speaking, a vitamin is a drug. That's the definition that I was taught in school. There are legal drugs, there are illegal drugs, and through most of my life, the old man kept his drugs at least semi-legal. That was his thing. Dude used to mix up date rape drug on my stove. I remember that. Came out, Richard, do you happen to have any litmus paper? I need to test my date rape drug. Huh? I thought he was joking. He wasn't. I'm a geek. I had litmus paper. I gave him my litmus paper. He tested it. Something to do with how they ship it. You have to test it. And then, a couple weeks later, maybe a month later, maybe a couple months later, I don't remember, he comes to me with this glass bottle and he says, "Do you want some of this?" And I said, "What is it?" He goes, "It's date rape drug." And I go, "Dad, I'm not a rapist. Why would I want date rape drug? It doesn't make sense." He goes, "Well, to take it." And I go, "I don't think you understand how this stuff works. They don't rape you." Okay. Now, this is later comedy of my old man. Not as funny. But there was one time earlier in my life, I was maybe 16, maybe 17, and a friend of mine gave me a ride home. I didn't have a driver's license at the time, and I forget why, but he comes into my house, and there's my dad on my couch in his underwear. And you might say, well, why is that weird? Because, you see, my father didn't live with me. My parents divorced when I was 3. So I'm 17 now, right? 14 years. I haven't lived with my father. He is on my couch in his underwear. Now, to be fair, I didn't have any parents at the time. He'd come over on the weekends and take me to the store and then leave on a Monday. And for the rest of the week, it was just me and my crazy siblings. At this point, I think my sister would have been in college and my brother would have been sitting in the den watching TV. He did that a lot. But my father, in his underwear, seeing my friend, just turns to him and said, oh, I forgot. He has a crate on his box on his lap. Big box. He says, in the beginning, man had to spend all of his time gathering food. Then came the advent of agriculture, allowing man to spend time on more important things than food and shelter. Like drugs. Now you see all of these drugs I have right here. Well, I've got more coming in the mail tomorrow, so I've got to take all of them right now. And that, of course, that was my father. He was always looking for that magic drug that would solve his problems. He'd go to the doctor and he'd ask for every single SSRI he possibly could, and he stockpiled them. Then, of course, my father, while taking his crate of drugs, continued speaking to us. Again, in his underwear, on my couch. And he said, when I was in Vietnam, I was a mailman. And we used to sit up on the rooftops, smoke dope, and watch the battles. The brilliant colors were incredible fireworks. And every now and again, you'd look up at a rooftop and you would see these sparks falling down. That was the commanding officer checking on his men and them dumping their dope. But you see, I was never actually on the rooftop. I was always on the ground, collecting their dope. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must go smoke their dope. Then he continued. You would think at that point he would leave, but no. Time, reality, and the old man didn't exactly mesh. So he continued. So he said, and at the end of the war, I came out and said, boys, we're going home. And we're going to have an inspection. So anything you don't want us to find, you put in this box right here. And of course, one man had some heroin. A few guys had bottles of pills. And there was lots and lots of dope. And then I sealed up the box and I mailed it home. I was the mailman, remember? And we never had an inspection. Vietnam was the best time of my life. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go smoke their dope. At this point, I do believe my old man passed out and started snoring. And my friend and I, not seeing this as abnormal, went to go play video games. It was the 90s. That was the thing you did. But that was my father. He was a man who believed that drugs were the answers to all of his problems. They weren't. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Richard.
Oogog, Ergonog. Daniel Ducky say YouTube gods need long outro so I can tell you comment, like, and subscribe so that this channel can pull trash out of ocean by buying matrices from For Ocean. Also, links to new video now appear. Comment, like, and subscribe, or be cursed by Ugatha. Daniel Ducky approves.